splines. Now I need to do this in the shaded view so we can see the T-splines. This is a plugin for Rhinoceros called T-splines, which sort of allows you to make the thing behave in a more clay-like fashion. And here it is. If I turn on all these points, I can drag the thing around and make whatever bumps I want to make on it. It has, as you can see, symmetry turned on, so when I ask for one bump, I get two bumps. You can see that it moves here, and then also it moves on the other side. So there's this thing called T-splines, which is, I'm going to take these bumps out because they are offensive to my eyes. Undo and undo. And then the little eyes of the squid are these separate surfaces. Yep. Okay, there we are. So I can actually remove these little eyeball things when I get tired of them. Now, of course, this isn't the final squid. As you see, this is a somewhat crude model. After I have made the T-splines model and gotten it to look like I want it to look, then I generate a mesh from it. And then after that, a good deal of post-processing goes on of the mesh in particular in order to put the texturing on it, which you see on the shell of the squid. Come on. Oh wait, this isn't going to be what I want. Anyway, I did that texturing in ZBrush. There's the T-spline again. Do you want to check out the ZBrush thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just setting up for...
Oh yeah,
I got to get a shot like that. I mean, we talked about it balancing, but I don't think we ever actually showed it balancing on anything.
Yeah, it's true. It's gonna like wiggle around a whole lot.
That's all right.
You had that perfectly, and I touched it, for which I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah,
this one balances a little bit skew.
It's fine. It doesn't matter. Wiggly is good. I mean, it gives...
I just want to point out that I found out what causes the fact that it balances skew. It's actually due to a material process thing that occurred during the 3D printing, and I know how to fix it now.
Cool.
The guy on the production line helped me to debug that. It turns out there's a density gradient that gets put into the piece when the infiltration happens. And if I make the infiltration still differently, I can get rid of that, and then my squid will balance straight.
Sweet. So, actually, that brings up a question that I had meant to ask and then kind of lost track of, is how did you actually work out the balancing of this?
Ah, tricky. Well, Rhinoceros has a number of engineering tools, and one of them is that you can analyze a surface and you can find out if it is a closed surface that actually encloses a volume. You can calculate the centroid of that volume, which is its center of mass. So what I did was model this thing and then have Rhino calculate the center of mass of this object. And in order to make a balancing squid, the center of mass has to be directly below the point you want it to balance on. So here is the center of mass of this squid, and this here is the point that it balances on. So there it is, the prong that it balances on, and here is its center of mass as computed by Rhino. So you can see that the center of mass is just below the balance point, and that's what makes it do that. If the center of mass were above the balance point, obviously it would fall off. Since if you view it from the top, it's symmetrical. Balancing in that direction is not an issue.
Okay, hold that shot for a second. Get back to the top shot.
Yeah. So here's the symmetrical top view of the squid. Just get rid of that extra eyeball. And there's the eyeball.
Okay, I got that. You can carry on.
However, getting the squid to balance from front to back was actually quite a trick, and I did that mainly by moving this big tentacle at the bottom around. Basically, this thing has the structure of this object here, and then the bottom of the tentacle is counterweighting it, and that's what's pulling the center of mass down below it. So much of the mass is actually in the ends of these tentacles, which looks a little bit disproportionate, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do to make the squid balance. And one thing, of course, that isn't taken into account in this model, this volume does not include the little eye spots. Rhino is not quite smart enough to have a way to calculate the center of mass of more than one volume at a time. So I solved this problem by putting the eyes almost directly over the balance point, so they're not going to affect the balance.
Makes sense.
So that's a design constraint that goes into this object. And then, of course, in order to make sure that it opens bottles, I had to make a CAD model of a bottle cap. so that I could be sure that it would grip the bottle correctly. And I'm now going to take this and show you how it grabs the bottle cap. Are we ready to do that?
Yeah, I'm set.
Okay.
So go ahead.
So if you want the squid to actually open a bottle, this is how it does it. And when I made this squid, I found out that there's one thing about it which is not very great as a bottle opener, which is that the tail is too pointy and it hurts your hand. So I'm now making a new version which the tail is nice and smooth, and then it won't have this problem. Because I care about what happens to your hands when you open a bottle with my squid.
Nice.